And we are live, everybody. I want to thank everybody that's joining us. I'm really looking forward to tonight, and this is going to be a special show for me. We're going to be talking about the Fillmore East, which may be the greatest rock venue of all time. It only lasted for 3 years, from '68 to '71, and it was something else. I mean, anybody played there. I mean, all of the big stars played there, and many of them multiple times. And we're going to get into all that when we get started here. So, first of all, I want to introduce my two co-hosts. We have, I point this way, but it's the wrong way. Okay, we have my younger brother Richie Eddings, who's got his own live podcast called The Jesus Movement. Richie Eddings, The Jesus Movement, and I'll go co-host with him sometimes. And we had Rachel on there, about 2 weeks ago, Rich?
Yeah, that was a
And
fun one.
Rachel's a world of knowledge when it comes to religion. I'm kind of the silent partner there a little bit. I might have been would you say I was the black sheep in the family?
What do you mean, like in our own personal family?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Well, there for a couple of years,
you were, I don't know if you were a black sheep, but you were just, I think you were going the right direction, except for, you got with the, like our dad used to say, you got in the wrong crowd. He said, you wanted to pick your friends for you.
Said though, too.
But those guys were just like everybody, they were like you too. It wasn't the wrong crowd. It was the guys you grew up with. So
we all grew up together. We just, it was a crazy time,
Yeah.
It was the time we're talking about here tonight, with the Fillmore East is what it was. Everybody started to grow their hair long,
Right.
started to smoke weed, started getting in trouble for all those things. And
yeah, to be honest with you, I got a little worried about you sometimes.
Yeah, well, many of us looked at it as kind of youthful experimentation, having fun with your buddies. But then there were people that decided they had to make a lifestyle out of it. Anyway, enough of all that.
Yeah.
I also want to introduce my other co-host tonight, and looks like Michael Nolan is going to be joining us as well. But this is Bruce from the R&B show, and
hi everyone.
I want to ask, pardon me.
I'm just saying hi to everyone. Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I want to recommend that everybody go to the R&B show and subscribe to the R&B show. They've got a great show. They cover a lot of great topics. And now we're adding YouTube sensation and my good friend Michael Nolan, the bottom line.
That's me.
That's exactly right. And we're really glad to have you here, Michael. I had no idea whether you see my notes or don't see my notes.
Brother, the last few videos I've been putting out, it's like edit, sleep, shoot, edit, sleep, shoot. So I haven't even gotten to one response on that last video that I just put out. So
it takes.
But I'm awake. I'm ready.
Oh no!
Okay, we're gonna get into this, but let me just give a shout out real quick to some of my good friends in the chat here. Novice Nick. I think Nick, you said you just did your first live show. That's fantastic, brother, and thank you for joining us tonight. And also AZ Mick, brother AZ Mick, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you here tonight. So anyway, and we've got Junebug Films just joined us. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you joining. Everybody check out Junebug Films. Okay, so what I want to talk about here is the Fillmore East. And that venue would have never, I don't think it would have ever got the notoriety that it got if it wasn't for the owner-producer, Bill Graham, who also owned the Fillmore West in San Francisco. They were bringing all the top acts at the time. In fact, the Fillmore East was referred to as the church of rock and roll. Okay. The church, that's pretty amazing. It was really a hallowed place there in San Francisco. I mean, down near 6th Street, it was a beautiful, ornate building. And I'll tell you what, Bill Graham did everything first class. I mean, he was building an empire. And he put the amazing sound system in, hired the top people in the business to do this. 35,000 watts, 26 speakers. The place was beautiful inside. Ticket prices $350 to $550, and it was most of the time it was a triple billing. And I'm not talking about two unknowns in a big name. I'm talking about three big names, And these concerts were absolutely incredible. And so he put everything he did was first class. you know, and he demanded excellence, not only from the people that worked for him, but he demanded excellence from all the performers that came to play. And they appreciated it. They could tell what he was doing there. It wasn't just like, we talked about some clubs last week, CBGB and the Club WA, and some of these places were like caves inside, you know. And you saw the pictures of the bathroom at the CBGB that never got cleaned. I mean, it was just incredible. But you wouldn't find that at a Bill Graham venue, you know. So anyway, okay, so the very first show, what was it, March 8th of 68. It was only 68 through 71 that he owned it. And March of 68, he had Big Brother and the Holding Company, of course, with Janis Joplin. But at the time, her name wasn't featured, you know, as the top billing. They were having a lot of trouble at that time because Janis was blowing up in popularity. So I don't know what was going on when that happened, but you can kind of imagine. So they were really going through some issues there, but they put it all behind them and came out and put on an amazing performance. And after that, okay, who was it? Doug Clifford? Let's see. Yeah, Doug Clifford. Doug Clifford from Creedence Clearwater drummer said that they came out and they did an insane 17 encores. The crowd would not sit down. They stood up and yelled and screamed and clapped. And Creedence Clearwater came out and did 17 encores. Now try to imagine that. I've seen one and I've cheered my heart out for a second one. I've never seen a third or anything like 17 encores. And Bill Graham, the producer and the owner of the club, was so appreciative. He bought each and every one of them a gold watch, inscribed gold watch, and gave it to him as a special gift for doing 17 encores. I mean, how incredible is that? I mean,
it must have been one heck of a deal there.
Huh?
It must have been one heck of a deal there.
Oh my God!
I remember playing in places, and you know, we do an extra set or two, and boy, if a third one came around, man, we were pretty exhausted, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of more quick shout outs are starting to come in hot and heavy here. We've got my good buddy Dave, the pickup artist. I'd like everyone to go check out his show and subscribe. And I know you will once you see it. My good friend Caitlin Stoddard, Caitlin's family here. Caitlin has a show. I haven't seen a notification here lately. She's had a shoulder operation and she's healing. But good to see you here, Kate. Everybody check out Caitlin's Corner, Kate Stoddard.
I saw her live yesterday, I think it was.
Oh, did you?
I went on and I was messing with.
Of course, I was working yesterday.
I was telling her that I was the favorite brother and all this stuff, and she says, I don't know, man. Me and Royce are pretty tight. I knew she'd stick up for you. That's why I was messing with you. You know, I don't know. Me and Royce are pretty tight. And I said, but she says,
thank you, Kate. We are pretty tight.
She said, although you said I was a good girl the other day, so I got an although out of it anyway. You know?
And we've got Angela. She was at one of your last shows, huh, Rich?
Oh, yeah. She's been pretty good. I hope she comes back again.
Yeah. Did you bring her on as a co-host?
No, she just showed up.
Oh, okay.
I asked her to do that, but I don't know if she wants to do that or not.
Right. And we've got my good friend, Steve Midtham. And really appreciate seeing Steve here. I haven't seen you, in a few shows. I know you watch them later. But, yeah, once again, we have 192 videos right now. And we really appreciate getting as many people as we can to the live show, of course. But not everybody can make it. Everybody's got things they're doing. And so people watch it later and the numbers keep going up. But once again, we want to encourage everyone to subscribe. The show's been growing. We'd like to keep it growing, and subscribing really, really helps. And also there's a like or thumbs up button on the screen that you're looking at on YouTube. And if you hit that, it lets the algorithm know that people like our show. So when there are people searching for content to watch, we might get recommended and get watched and gain another subscriber or viewer. Anyway, so thank you all very much. All of that helps. Everybody in the panel here could tell you all of that helps. It's a lot of work. I mean, I spend hours. Michael was talking about on the last show how he spends 4 hours editing and things like that when he puts a show on. It really is a lot of work. And it really is nice to get that encouragement of a thumbs up or a subscribe, because I know that when I look at my analytics, half of my viewers aren't subscribers. If I could get them all under the big tent here, it would be a total game changer for the channel. So anyway, enough of that.
You know, I think that's true for most channels, Royce.
Yeah.
It's true for mine. Vast amount of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel. I mean,
Right.
a big
I think
portion.
it's because they think it costs money or something.
It's
Some people.
No, I think there's a reticence out there
Yeah.
these days to join anything.
Anything, right.
People
Yeah, you're
were spending a couple of years indoors. That a lot of subscriptions happened during that time, I guess.
Well, during
I
COVID,
wasn't around during that time, but but what you're seeing is people are like we've talked on my channel, like we're going to talk about tonight,
right.
concerts. They're going back to live events. And it's not just that. They're also out walking and hiking and all of that. And I think there's a bit of reticence to sit down and watch like we were used to doing.
Wait a minute. I started putting.
I agree with that completely. I
started putting subscribe. It's free. No credit card required. No obligation. I started doing all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're 100% right, Michael, because during COVID, everybody was sitting home. A lot of people were forced to sit home, place. But when COVID ended and they started taking the mask restrictions off and all this stuff, I really struggled and even asked an audience, what would be the best night to have the show? Because it used to be on Friday and Saturday night, everybody was sitting home. Now, Friday and Saturday night, I hark back to the days when, like, say, the Carlton was popping downtown. If you went in there on a Friday or Saturday night, would have had a long sushi bar, great restaurant, beautiful bar, lounge, and almost always live music, and sometimes kind of an open mic night where people would just take turns playing. And it was just such a fun place. And then there was another place across the street that had live music playing. And I'm not exaggerating. If you went in there on Friday or Saturday night, before the night was over, if you hung out for a few hours with friends, everybody you knew walked in the door and got a drink. No matter what they were doing earlier, out to dinner or whatever, they walked in and had a drink before they went home. And so I'm thinking, hey, this, everybody's going to start going back to these things they used to like to do before COVID. So maybe Friday and Saturday aren't such a good night. So I wound up, I was thinking sometime Monday through Thursday, but I wound up with Sunday. I figured maybe Sunday is when people were, chilling from whatever they did all weekend long and taking it a little easier, maybe more willing to sit down and relax and just see.
Well, Royce, I've got a question for you now. Do you utilize your YouTube Studio app? Not just an actual app that you can access, because it'll give you a window and in a color code, and it will tell you when your audience is at its height. A very bright, almost purple indicates high traffic, slightly dimmer, and it goes down.
I have looked at that. I have looked at that, and I feel like my 6:30 time zone is right at the darkest of those kind of magenta colored bars.
Oh, really? I thought you said you had it. Yeah. Well, maybe it's time for a day change. Or have you ever?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Have you ever thought of changing your day? Track that because week by week it fluctuates.
Right.
But over about a 4 to 6 week period, you should be able to find your prime audience and then consider moving to that night if Sunday's such a dark night.
Well, I'll tell you, I started on Friday. I started on Friday. It seemed like there was a whole lot of people doing Friday shows, but we were still moving up. And then co-hosts at the time, I had 3 co-hosts at the time, very knowledgeable music people. All three of them were huge Kiss fans. I mean, one of them bought a Kiss pinball machine. They bought all kinds of stuff, but they were very, very knowledgeable. And one of them's in a band. that's doing very well right now. They just got going again. COVID kind of shut down the band he had last time. There was nothing for him to do. He formed a new band. They're doing good now. They've been starting to play a lot. But anyway, one of them came to me and said, "Hey, listen, Friday's not working for me. I'm going to have to keep canceling. We've started this band and stuff. And so could we move to Saturday?" So I moved from Friday to Saturday. And then when COVID ended, I moved to Sunday, just trying to pick a spot where I thought, might work, just thought might work. And it's and I won't say whether I was on Friday, Saturday, Sunday that I would have any more going on than I have now,
Right.
But so I'm probably going to sit here on the Sunday for a while. Let me do a couple more shout outs, guys. We've got some new people that have been showing up. We've got our good friend Groovy Lisa. Everybody go check out Groovy Lisa's channel. They have a lot of fun over there. I catch it whenever I can. Groovy Lisa, thank you for showing up. And we have Mary Jane Blanick, one of my good friends from Facebook. And we also have Gloria, my good friend. Hi, Gloria. How you doing? We've been on other shows before, and Gloria's great. I really enjoy her. Josh D is here. And I just missed Randy's up here somewhere. I didn't realize the chat was going by so quickly. Yeah, my buddy Randy, Dead Wax. Dead Wax has a great show. I see him on a lot of the other shows. I've been to his show. Everybody, please go check out my good friend Randy on Dead Wax 66. He's got an excellent show. A lot of fun, plays great music like some of the other guys do. But thank you, Randy. I really appreciate you showing up and supporting us here. So anyway, let's get back to what were we talking about? The Fillmore East. Okay, so
what, Royce, I was going to mention, the Fillmore East becoming the Church of Rockology or whatever.
Yeah, the Church.
There's how it was groomed into that greatness, though, was stuff happening on the West Coast at the Fillmore West.
Fillmore West in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Also owned by Bill Graham, correct.
Right. He perfected the sound system there.
Yeah.
And he really perfected the light show there. A guy named Danny, I forget his last name, Graham brought him along. And between the two facilities,
the Joshua Light Show. The Joshua Light Show.
Yeah, okay. I believe so. Let me see. The guy's name, I had the note for it here. Danny Williams developed that famous light show, and of course, it became bi-coastal.
Yeah.
So that whole thing, that's when Fillmore East really took off. And, we're talking about a crowd of 2,300 something, right?
Yeah.
Versus on the West Coast, see, they only had 1,003 at the Fillmore West.
Yeah.
So talk about intimate crowds. This sets you up for some awfully great recording, which I'm sure you're going to be bringing out. But
well, it's like you said. I mean, Bill Graham demanded excellence, not just from the performers, but from his own crew. But when the performers got there and they saw how he ran such a tight ship, they wanted to give their best, So it just all fed on itself, and everybody gave their best performances. It was just incredible. And I mean, we had Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin that I mentioned earlier, Big Brother and the Holding Company, Grateful Dead, The Cream, The Doors. It's a funny story about The Doors. They didn't know what to expect when they came. But I mean, the list, it was everybody. B.B. King, Eric Clapton, Sly and the Family Stone. And they say a lot of great things about Sly and the Family Stone in the commentary on the show. But nobody could perform better than Sly is what they were saying. And I tell you what, I'm so grateful. I always loved that band, from my teenage years and stuff. And recently even bought a 2-album set by Sly and the Family Stone. But excuse me. But Sly and the Family Stone, I got to see twice at the Hollywood Palladium in 1973.
Nice. I got a little thing here.
Everything you hear about Sly's performance is absolutely true. When the rest of the band left the stage, who comes back out all by himself is Sly. dancing and singing, and he's screaming the microphone, "Want to take you higher," with the peace sign.
Right, yeah.
Everybody would just explode. He'd dance and sing around. He'd do all his funny antics. "I want to take you higher," and everybody would explode again. This must have went on for about 15 minutes. It was really entertaining too.
I remember those first live records when they came out. They sounded so damned fresh,
Oh yeah.
and different. His voice, instrumentation, and
Yeah.
then when you saw him, I never got to see him live.
Yeah.
But when you'd see him on TV, they were different. They were so different, but
they were
man,
different.
so
But you know what? There were good musicians in that band, aside from Sly's charismatic, entertaining personality. And that horn section was, to me, top notch.
Oh yeah.
And we've also been joined by Nick Pantazzi. How you doing, buddy? My good friend Bill Kay, who's been around the show for a long time. Really a great guy. Really like Bill. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Mary Jane and Gloria are both here. So thanks, guys. Thanks for showing up, supporting us. We really appreciate it. So anyway, like I was saying, Sly and the Family Stone, Santana, the Allman Brothers. Of all bands, the Allman Brothers. That's probably one of the most famous live recordings ever made. Is the Allman Brothers at the Fillmore East. I have it on CD. Amazing.
My favorite live album.
Yeah,
my favorite live album.
This 160
It says they
CDs
were
that was gifted
the
to
Allman
me.
Brothers Band played as many shows at the Fillmore East than were sometimes called Bill Graham's house band.
House band.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, people really loved playing there, and they couldn't have been getting paid all that much. Certainly, they weren't passing a hat around like they did at CBGB. But everybody was there. Blues, soul, rock. The great rock stars were all there.
John Lennon and Yoko sat in with Frank Zappa.
With Frank Zappa, that's exactly
the Mothers
right.
of Invention in June 6 of 1971.
Right.
And Led Zeppelin, who kind of got their act together down in L.A. By playing with the likes of Alice Cooper and all of that, really hitting it for the first time after most of their tour. Their first tour was over.
Right.
They polish it in San Francisco, baby, and the papers were a buzzing.
Right.
And they just the crowning achievement on the East Coast at Fillmore East. What can rock history, man?
The Who, Jefferson Airplane. I mentioned the Grateful Dead, but everybody. There was nobody that wasn't playing there.
Even Miles Davis.
Traffic, Miles Davis, everybody. Albert King, B.B. King.
Led Zeppelin.
The list just goes on and on and on. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
And okay. Among the acts that played there, in case I left somebody out, we had it's hard to memorize this 100 names here. So, I don't really like having to read, but of course, we mentioned Jimi Hendrix, the Band of Gypsies. They actually recorded the Band of Gypsies at Fillmore East. Oh man,
Bill Graham was a German transplant.
Buddy Miles. Buddy Miles as a solo act. Yeah, Bill Graham.
His name was Wolf Wolodia.
Right. Yeah, he was a transplant from Germany.
Bill Graham. Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
Thought that'd be kind of nice.
Yoko Ono, John Lennon and Yoko Ono played, like Richie said already, with Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention.
Right, I missed that part.
1971. The Allman Brothers played so many times they were being called the house band. Additionally, Grateful Dead played 43 concerts there.
Wow.
43.
Yeah.
The venue was only there for 3 years. These people played 43 concerts.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's like every couple of months for 3 years,
Yeah.
If the math is right,
Right. And like we were talking about earlier, Michael was talking about the light show that was perfected on the West Coast. And if it's the same one, it was the Joshua Light Show headed by Joshua White. They were an integral part of many performances with its psychedelic art lighting, But Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. did 4 shows. Led Zeppelin made 4 appearances. It's just mind-boggling, you know. Iron Butterfly. I mean, let's see. Led Zeppelin made 4 appearances opening for Iron Butterfly.
Oh.
Okay. I mean, as much as I love Iron Butterfly,
No, I love them too, but I mean,
But you know that arrangement didn't last long, you know.
right.
Let me throw up a couple of things.
But you know, Led Zeppelin at first was opening for a ton of people.
Yeah.
Vanilla Fudge and all of the bands got to the point, Royce, they didn't want Led Zeppelin opening for them. They, you know, it was like,
who wants to follow
no, nobody wanted to watch them after that, you know?
Right. Let me show you guys a couple of things that I've got here, a couple of pictures. It just gives you an idea what this was like, okay? I mean, okay. Yeah, you can't really see that one real well, but it's just the corner of the venue. But look at this. You got The Who, Led Zeppelin, Chuck Berry, Albert King, Booker T, and the Youngbloods. I mean, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
Then you get to the next one, Neil Young and Crazy Horse, Miles Davis, John Mayall, who I just bought one of his albums, the one I've been looking for years in the used places. It was John Mayall featuring Eric Clapton. I just bought that yesterday for $20. Pristine vinyl. Moody Blues, Joe Cocker, Brian Auger. Let's see, what do we have here? Go through these pictures real quick. Okay, look at that. Look at that crowd trying to get in. I mean, this was
good Lord.
Absolute first class venue here. Look at this. Birds. David Crosby, that recently deceased, was actually in the Birds originally. Birds, Nice Sun, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Jimi Hendrix, Grateful Dead. I mean, who didn't play there? I mean, seriously. We got Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. We got Jimi Hendrix at the Fillmore East, 1969, first show. I mean, this was just, and of course the Allman Brothers. The Allman Brothers loom large. I mean, at this venue, just because of that iconic album of theirs. Okay, let's go back. Let me open the chat back up. All right, so who was person that put these lineups together? Okay, Josh D. Okay, that was producer and club owner Bill Graham. Bill Graham owned not only the Fillmore East, he also owned the Fillmore West, and he was actually building an empire. Let's see. Yeah, that's a good album. Insane lineups. What about Canned Heat or Moby Grape, Royce? You know, that's a good question. Maybe we'll see those. I'm going to have to read the list of live performances. And pretty much all of them, unless there was some technical difficulties, wound up being on albums. And the interesting thing is some of these live performances, you know, that took place between 68 and 71 when Fillmore East was open are actually some of them just the last few years have been getting released. And so that's kind of interesting. And we'll be looking at some of that in a couple of minutes here. Okay. Yes, he hired the bands. I didn't find anything about him having people working for him that went and hired the bands. So I would assume that Bill Graham did hire the bands. I don't know if anybody has any information on that. Well, you know what? I left up a picture.
I always assumed that it was Bill Graham's magic touch, his personal touch. You know, he was famous for courting the talent, treating them like kings. He could also treat them like garbage if they got on his bad side. You know, he was no angel. But from what I have what do you think, Bruce? Do you know anything about that?
I mean, I've heard the same thing. Like, you know, these places, it's the topography of rock and roll. So, I mean, it's like every documentary you see, like you read books,
right.
Glenn Cream, it's all in there. And like similarly, Bill Graham is one of these figures that there are bands that had beautiful relationships with him, loved him. And then, I mean, there have been criticisms as well, you know, for those that kind of got, you know, because he could be stern, you know, strict as far as, you know, as well as you can imagine, you know, being in that business where you had to have a little bit of that shark element to you as well. Also,
Right.
So I've heard a mix of stories when it comes to Bill Graham.
Yeah, I saw him at a couple of concerts. You could see him. He walked around all the time, and always talking, always, so he was always engaged, and I always just kind of assumed that he was just like one of those guys that saw a buck in everything, but he truly loved the music. He loved the idea of show business, and but everything, he saw the angle, I think, in almost everything he did, even on what he was going to have for lunch, I mean, that's what I always got.
Well, yeah. Well, he was what an amazing producer, and they hired the Doors to come out and play, West Coast band, the Doors, and they didn't really know what to expect, because the Doors were considered maybe the most unpredictable rock act out there at the time. But they came in, they hired him for 2 nights, to do 2 sets a night for 2 nights, and the second night, I guess, was the one to really be there for. And they did a fantastic job. Came out, did encores and stuff. And I mean, I guess they were really happy with their performance. They did really good. But yeah, I mean, the list of acts that played there is just something else.
It's an embarrassment of riches, really, when you think about it. It's just amazing to think that level of talent all in that same era.
All that, yeah,
blows my mind.
Right. No, it's incredible. It's incredible. Okay, so Gloria, I have a Fillmore 2 miles away from where I live. I know none of the talent that is going to do shows there. No shade to the artists. Okay. Well, that's interesting, Gloria. Very interesting. Oh, yeah, the Grateful Dead played there a lot. They played there an amazing amount of times.
What's this about the final concert that was supposed to have been on October, let me see, 14th of 2022?
The final concert. Who are they saying was the band?
The bands were Live at the Fillmore, considered the world's greatest tribute to the Allman Brothers Band.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
is joined by Junior Mack, original Allman Brothers drummer.
Oh, okay.
And then they had Hymo's Jazz's band, frontman and guitarist on Broadway, play Lackawanna Blues, performing the music of Albert King, and Bloodshot, a tribute to Jay Giles Band.
Yeah, Jay.
So
Giles,
it's a tribute show. It's a closeout tribute show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay Giles was a pretty amazing.
He was. I saw him once. He was really good.
Right.
Really
right.
good.
Really good. Yeah, I listened to a couple of his albums years ago, and I still see him once in a while. I don't know why I haven't picked any of them up, because I always really enjoyed them.
Well, here now I got one that breaks it down. I wouldn't have to go through all those names and stuff.
Right. Okay, I want to start talking a little bit about the live performances. Of course, they're all live performances, but I'm talking about the ones that were recorded and became albums later. And of course, to me, the most notable, of course, is the Allman Brothers, which has already been mentioned. And they let's see. The place had excellent acoustics. It didn't take long before they realized if you were going to do a live performance and have it recorded and make an album, this was the place to do it, because the venue had such great acoustics. But the list includes not just the Allman Brothers, Fillmore East. They had their breakthrough double album recorded March 12th and 13th of 1971. And I don't want to spend too much time on each one, because there's a lot of them here. Then they came out, they did another live album there called Eat a Peach, and that was a follow-up double album to the first one. And that, let's see, now what's crazy is this one was released on Capricorn Records in '72, so it didn't take that much longer. But then they came back and in February 70, another album, and supporting the Grateful Dead and okay, okay. The Allman Brothers in 71, Fillmore East recorded a 6 CD set. I mean, you can really start getting the impression why the Allman Brothers are just joined at the hip with this venue. I mean, came back and recorded the live 6 CD set of both early and late shows, in 71. Just craziness. Buffalo.
That final concert I was talking about before, it was done at a place called the Whitaker Center.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't done at the actual Fillmore East.
Oh, it wasn't.
And the reason is because the last concert that they did at the Fillmore East was the Allman Brothers Band, the Jay Giles Band, and Albert King, the real one.
What an amazing blues guitarist Albert King is,
Yeah.
I mean, that guy is just amazing. Okay, so then we moved down. The Chambers Brothers recorded Love, Peace, and Happiness, a double album set at the Fillmore East. Joe Cocker, Mad Dogs and Englishmen, recorded at the Fillmore East. And I love that album. I had that when I was a teenager, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Away Street, a double album. Miles Davis, live at the Fillmore East, March 7th, 1970. Let's see, more Miles Davis. Miles Davis at the Fillmore Live, a double album recording of 4 shows. Wow, this is just something else. Derek and the Dominoes in concert, recorded October 23rd and 4th, 1970, released in 73. Now, I looked for that, and I kept finding the live recording of Derek and the Dominoes, but it never had Layla on it. So I finally found but that was just one recording. I finally found the one that had all my favorite songs on it, and that's the one I bought. But anyway, so Derek and the Dominoes in concert, recorded in 1970, released in 73. Then Derek Dominoes live at the Fillmore, recorded in 1970, released in 1994.
Oh,
maybe
wow.
Maybe that's the one I kept coming across. It was missing some songs I didn't really understand.
Huh.
Flying Burrito Brothers, recorded in 1970. Their authorized bootleg. Okay, the Fugs, Golden Faith, alive at the Fillmore. Are you guys familiar with the Fugs? I've heard of them, but I can't say that I have 8 or 10 of their albums.
No, I've heard that they exist, and that's about it for me.
Right.
So,
Right.
What about you, Bruce?
Yeah, no, same thing by name. I've seen that name put around several times, but yeah.
Right. Okay, so Grateful Dead, aka Skull and Roses. I think before they were Grateful Dead, they were Skull and Roses, and they recorded a 3 CD set.
That's a lame name, Skull and Roses.
No. They recorded a live double album of which 7 of the 11 tracks were recorded at the Fillmore East. Okay. And that
what? If they had kept that name and we had heard that it was the Grateful Dead that they were considering, we'd probably be going, that was a weird name.
Well, I don't think you would have been wearing tie-dye and stuff.
That's exactly right.
What is it? The Skull and what?
Skull and Roses is what he said.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Deadhead
that's where Axl Rose got the idea of Guns N' Roses.
That's a ridiculous name.
You know what, though? That's the case with a lot of band names.
What's that even mean?
Take it away from context, we would probably consider a lot more of them.
I know what the Grateful Dead means. The Grateful Dead means you're grateful, but you're dead, but you're in the right place. Grateful Dead, right?
I'll bet you Randy at Dead Whack 66 has the Fugs. I may even have heard them playing one time there, Randy. Let us know if you have the Fugs. For some reason, I have the feeling that you would have the Fugs. You play a lot of great stuff, a lot of stuff that I'm not that familiar with, but it's always excellent.
We didn't know Michael Nolan was the Invisible Man, did we? The
Okay,
invisible-
my good buddy Eddie. Eddie's Physical Media Talk has joined us. And now that's another show right there that you guys want to all check out and subscribe to. I probably get to Eddie once a week. Sometimes more. It just depends on, I'm in and out. I'm still working and stuff like that. And I come home. Sometimes I'm still working. But anyway, running a business. But Eddie's got a great show, and I really have a good time when I go there. And Eddie's another one that plays a whole bunch of stuff that is not that mainstream. It's stuff that much of it I hadn't heard before. But everything he plays, I enjoy. It's just one of those things. And thank you very much for joining us, Eddie. We really appreciate it. And okay, Dave, the pickup artist, says I have the first Fugs album. Well, that's good to know.
Oh.
The first what album? Fugs?
The first Fugs album.
That's a good.
Yeah,
that's
Dave the
another
pickup artist. And here we go. Randy at Dead Wax has one of their albums, a self-titled, The Fugs. Thank you, Randy.
Where do you think the
I
Fugs
knew
came from?
Randy had it.
Where do you think the Fugs came from? The Fugs. Okay, what comes to mind when you hear the Fugs?
Well, yeah,
I'm not going to say what comes to my mind, but
Yeah, right. It's slang for something that's
slang
also
for something,
slang.
right?
And Bill K says,
only
I thought Randy
imagine.
had it. And I thought Randy had it too. Caitlin will be cheering for KC. Well, my San Francisco 49ers lost today in grand style.
They did?
Yes.
What a drag.
Yeah, they make it not quite to the big dance, but they're not doing that bad. I mean,
So who'd they lose
make
to?
it
I
pretty
forget
far.
who they played. Who'd they lose to?
Yeah, check. I think it was the Eagles, Philadelphia
Okay.
Eagles. Okay, so Eddie, who I was just talking about, Bill K says Eddie plays cool Mexican or Spanish prog rock. And yes, last show I caught, he was playing some stuff from, I think, Portugal. And it was great. I mean, I actually wrote it down on my desk. I liked it so much. Okay, Eagles for me. My father and I have another bet going. I'll tell you something about Caitlin. She knows more about sports than all of us sitting here combined.
I
She
believe
asked
it,
me if
man.
I wanted to do kind of a, one of these special football things. I can't remember what you call it. That's how much more she knows than I do. But it's a dream team thing or something. Caitlin, what was that you asked me if I wanted to do with you? And you said you'd cover for me because I didn't know anything about it. I mean, she really knows her sports. Let's see. Eddie is here. We got to check out the guys. Thank you. You're quite welcome, Eddie. I really appreciate your show. We've got my buddy Frank James here. GNR got the name from Axl Rose and Tracy Guns of LA Guns. No, I actually knew that when I said it. I was trying to be kind of funny. It usually backfires on me. But yeah, no, that's exactly right. Tracy Guns of LA Guns. That's right. They were all kind of combined there for a little while. Thank you, Frank. Frank knows so much about music. Hi, Eddie. Okay, so let's Eagles lost to the Eagles. So anyway, let's go on here, getting sidetracked, but got to say hi to our friends, that's important too.
Oh yeah.
But, the Grateful Dead, I was mentioning Skull and Roses. That's funny. The History of the Grateful Dead, Volume 1.
Wow.
This album included dead performances recorded by the then dead sound wizard, Osley Bear. Okay, so the Grateful Dead, it's just amazing how many of our live performances came from the Fillmore East.
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. Grateful Dead. I mean, I don't know if any other band has more live albums than the Grateful Dead. I can't remember the number on it, but I read it once and I was just blown away. They also,
and then there's the albums that are put together by fans who've got field recorders that follow them.
yeah,
living
yeah.
in tents and dressing up like mystical Arabs and following the band by camel.
Like
I mean, no, I've met some of these people, man, and it's like they are, and I'm not cutting them down at all.
No,
I love that. I love that whole kind of devotion to a band.
Yeah.
The Grateful Dead's a hit and miss for me a bit. But I always respect the musicianship with that band, right?
Yeah.
But they've done some stuff I like, but I'm not a major fan. But you gotta give it to them. I mean, there's no other band in the world, not even Zeppelin, who had a similar kind of following, in their own heavier sort of existence for a much shorter period of time, right?
Right.
But, the devotion to the live band is just so incredible, man.
I'd go. I remember one time pulling into a park, and there was an old Volkswagen, green Volkswagen bus there, and I started talking to the guy, and he was definitely a deadhead. He just followed him from venue to venue, and,
Right.
I mean, I looked down, and of course, I mean, I've had dirty feet from wearing sandals and stuff before too, but I mean, his feet looked really dirty, And I don't care. He might have just walked through a mud puddle. Who the hell?
Did you also wash his feet?
I mean,
it's a lifestyle for the daring.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I want to say hi to Concert Buddy. What up, buddies? What up with you, bro? Thanks for showing up, buddy. Look at Angela. It's a party here tonight. It's a party here every night. We're going to get into that even more heavy in the future.
It's a party here tonight. Okay.
It's a house party.
Yeah.
Craziness has started. Super Bowl.
We're all at Royce's house.
When's the Super Bowl?
Right.
What's the date?
The date of what? The Super Bowl? I have no idea.
I don't either.
It's usually about a month after the playoffs or something like that. It's got to be
later every year or something.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get back here covering it. This whole page is Grateful Dead live performances. Oh my God. Crazy.
There's all kinds of people
like I mentioned earlier, Jimi Hendrix recorded the Band of Gypsies there.
Yeah.
And I like that album. That was a good album. Also, Songs for Groovy Children. The 4 Band of Gypsies concerts from December 69 through January 70, early and late show, on 5 CDs and 8 LPs, licensed as Sony Legacy by Experience Hendrix. Now, I have this 8 album set of Jimi Hendrix, and I was and it's all like live stuff. It's not well, some of them are studio takes too that just never made it on the albums. Versions of your favorite songs that are different, which I've never taken it out of the shrink wrap. It was made in 2000. You can still buy it today, the stuff that's being made now. You can still buy it today. You can also buy it in CD. But when I bought it, I was really excited to get home and listen to it. Then I realized it was already 22 years old, never been taken out of the shrink wrap, and the only one ever made with a velvet cover. So I have not been able to take it out of the shrink wrap yet. And earlier,
you kill me, Royce. You kill me, man. You kill me. I got to tell you, man, music is to be listened to.
I'm going to do it as a special occasion. Maybe
God.
when I hit 1,000 subs, I'll take it out. But it's
I'd
probably
rip that sucker open. Oh,
I know.
In a heartbeat.
I know. Everybody's.
God, vinyl is not a Star Wars toy. No, but I understand. You don't want to take.
You sound like Lou Mars now.
If you remember, Lou Mars was on the show.
I thoroughly agreed with Lou Mars during those.
Yeah, you did, and I'm not saying I don't agree.
Yeah.
So I don't.
We almost had you. We almost had you to the point where you were going to open it. Actually, if you remember,
I was close. I grabbed it tonight.
We came close.
I wanted to see if any of these live performances were at the Fillmore East, because it lists them all, whether it was made in studio, what studio. They were made all over the world. But none of them were the Fillmore East. If it had been the Fillmore East, I was thinking about how I was going to cut the shrink wrap along the back real carefully. I mean, the thing's about 4 inches thick.
And try to glue it back together. Yeah.
It has like a 40-page booklet with it.
People have gotten very precious about it. I kind of agree with Michael in that I like to be tactile, actually use it. Because I don't plan. If I pass it on, whatever after, but it's meant to be enjoyed. That's kind of how we grew up with albums, and we never thought twice. Like now I think back and I'm like, oh, maybe I should have taken better care of some of
I
these.
mean, you don't have to act like a DJ with it, you know.
Yeah, you used it. You lived with the stuff and you used it. And yeah,
and I freely admit there's the collector's mentality here that I just don't understand.
Well, okay.
But that doesn't mean that's wrong. It just means
I know.
My mind doesn't think that way, I guess.
That's playing into it a little bit, but I am going to open it. It's not going to be that much longer either. And this is what I mean about Frank James. 10 years after released an album from the Fillmore East, and they are on my list. But Frank just knows all this stuff, man. Okay, so anyway, all right. So why did I have to bring up that Hendrix thing again? Right?
Now we're gonna hold you to it.
I zipped my mouth for the longest time. You know,
Lou Mars wouldn't let up on you that night.
Oh no. He goes. I'm gonna get you 500 subscribers. How long do I have? 1 day, 2 days? I'm like, I'll give you a full 2 weeks. You know?
Yeah.
And I never got, and he made some video, and I thought, well, you know how you put something on TikTok, they'll add their own music. And I thought it was something like that he put on because I didn't understand a word he was saying, but that was my big promotion. But anyway, moving right along here. We had Humble Pie, I like that name, Humble Pie. Performance rocking the Fillmore.
Great.
And it was a complete recording, a 4-disc CD by Humble Pie, rocking the Fillmore. Released, look at this. The shows were from 71, 2 different dates in 71, released in 2013. And that's what I was talking about earlier. I don't know what's going on, but people are sometimes just recently have been releasing these things.
What's the latest Humble Pie release? Just released recently. I was listening to some of the tracks on that. Yeah. And damn, that was a great band. I didn't get into them at the time and was slow to get into them. And frankly, I'm still slow to get into them. Yeah. But every time I listen to them, they're incredible. I mean, they're just fabulous.
Oh, I've got this one antique store in Cayucas. I worked in Morro Bay yesterday and happened to get off in time to run over there and go. They have so many albums there. It's crazy. Yeah. And you'll find all kinds of stuff like Humble Pie, James Gang. I bought a Lee Michaels yesterday. I'm going to be entering a contest and I get to choose my genres, or not even genres, just artists. But one of them I wanted to do was going to be, great keyboardist. And I don't know if you guys were ever into Lee Michaels, organ player.
Oh,
absolutely amazing. Absolutely.
I was just going to say, I thought you were talking about Lee Michaels and himself and that one hit he had, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got that. God sent chills down. I mean, I didn't buy his albums. I'm not familiar with any of his other stuff, but for that one single, man,
Monday or something like that, it might have been.
Yeah, and it was out right at the time Sweet Hitchhiker was out, being given a lot of airplay. Instant Karma, you know what I mean? Yeah. It was like a golden.
Yeah, you know what I mean. That was one period. Of the songs. You know what I mean? Yeah. But he was great. He blew his ears out. He ruined his hearing playing that organ so damn loud. But so anyway, we had Jefferson Airplane. Bless Its Pointed Little Head, 1969. This album was split between the Fillmore East and Fillmore West. That's interesting. Okay, another Jefferson Airplane, Alborn. Jefferson Airplane, live at the Fillmore East, recorded 1968, released in 1998, 30 years later. Janis Joplin, Fillmore East, 1969, recorded February 69, released in June 2022. That's what I was talking about. When I started looking at this stuff, it kind of blew my mind.
From the archives.
From the archives, yeah.
Yep.
Throw it out there. It's hot right now.
Well,
King
and man, if they, it's better to get this stuff all transferred digitally and everything. Let's get it out because
Yeah.
it's never, you go, oh, yeah, now we need 42 albums by, Peter, Paul, and Mary or whoever, right? Well,
right.
yeah, because guess what, folks? It's never freaking going to happen again. So this is history. This is musical history. Get it out, man.
Right.
Chuck
Get it
Berry's
out.
even on the list. Chuck Berry even recorded live there.
Yep.
Yeah,
old
Mary
stuff,
Jane loved Lee Michaels. I don't find a lot of people that loved Lee Michaels the way me and some of my friends did at the time.
I forget
But,
what it sounds like.
Look at Angela here. They should release the 17 encores by CCNR. I would buy that in a heartbeat.
I would too.
Great comment, Angela. Thank you.
They probably did the long version of Susie Q, huh?
Right.
They had a 15-minute version on one of your albums I used to listen to.
I just scared myself. I almost lost my picture. Okay.
That was the first single. The first time I had ever heard Creedence was Susie Q. Blew me away because, it almost had, when he goes into that, Susie, the megaphone. You got to remember right around that time we had Winchester Cathedral, that sound. And so, and yet they never quite sounded like Susie Q again, did they?
Right.
Winchester Cathedral, that's the first song I played on the trumpet in the elementary school band. Beginning band. We marched in the parade and we played Winchester Cathedral.
Wow.
Rich Strickler has got a comment up here. Hey, Rich, thanks a lot for showing up, buddy. Really appreciate it. He's got a great podcast. I highly recommend everybody go look at Rich Strickler's show and subscribe to it. You'll enjoy it. He covers so much stuff. Do you know what I mean was that big smash hit by Lee Michaels? Yeah. 1971. It went number 6 in the USA. So he got a bit of notoriety, and that's when I was listening to him, 71, and had I think an 8-track for sure. I might even have had an album. But anyway, Rich, thank you very much, and good to see you here, bro. Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, so King Crimson, Epitaph, a 2-disc set with 3 tracks recorded at the Fillmore East in '69. King Crimson live at the Fillmore East, 1 disc, both November 21st and 2nd, '69. Partial sets released in 2004 on the King Crimson Club label as Club 25. Okay, now I really like these guys. Al Cooper and Mike Bloomfield. They had an album out called Super Sessions, and I have looked for that original album of Super Sessions.
Season of the Witch.
Yes, Season of the Witch.
Yeah, I love that album.
I was saving that for the finale. But no.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's a joke. I wasn't saving it. But I love that Season of the Witch too. That was huge. But so anyway, Al Cooper and Mike Bloomfield, Fillmore East, the Lost Concert Tapes, recorded in '68, released in 2003. Isn't that crazy? 30 years, 40 years go by and they finally release it, Okay, so then we have John Lennon and Yoko Ono.
Yeah.
Live Jam, side 2 of his live album.
That was with Frank Zappa, remember?
Yeah.
They sat in with Frank Zappa.
It included some bonus album it was included as a bonus album in Lennon and Ono's Sometime in New York City, released in '72. And that was recorded at the Fillmore.
The Frank Zappa Live Crappa. That's what it was, yeah. I know that's gross. I'm sorry.
My latest piece of musician art is Frank Zappa. And it was an original too, by my good friend. I want to give him a shout out right now. We were all on a previous show together, and we had fun there for the longest time. The artist is George Kalkoff, and he's a fantastic artist. And George created something for that show that was so unique. It was called The Ward. And we had a vinyl competition where you'd go head to head, and you'd show an album, you'd tell a story why this album was so important to you, and then the audience would vote. And there was, I think, StreamYard or somebody was keeping track of the vote, and then they'd close the vote, and you'd win or you'd lose, and if you won, you got to pick from a bunch of free albums, from this music store, and we had a lot of fun doing that. And George created the ward. What the ward was is when you lost, you got sent to the ward. As time went on, I got a picture I have to show you, and that's where this stuff comes from. Dirty Royce, that came from that other show. It's a picture of. I know it's a little far away to see, but Dirty Royce is Dirty Royce. Okay. So the host of that show referred to me as Dirty Royce.
You've gone too far now.
George made that, just sent it to me just for fun. But here's what I want to show you.
Dirty Royce, give me a break.
Well, Royce was feeling lucky, punk.
Filthy punk. Yeah.
Okay, I'm tripping over dog beds here. But so we had the ward, and I'm absolutely not promoting this show, but I'm not going to sit here and tape all the names on it, But here's the ward right here, and if you look at it closely, I am right. I'm right here with a black eye, so everybody here is all busted up. Okay, I'm right here where my finger is. That's me, and I've got a black eye. And here's all my buddies in here. We've all gotten beat up and lost. Daddy Boggs is in here, and some of these guys still come on the show here. I mean, we've got Levi, we've got Ed Stasium. Ed Stasium was a producer. He actually produced the Ramones and a whole bunch of other bands. And he was one of the guys that would come in and compete. He wound up being a co-host on the show for a long time. But
you guys are going to have to make a movie. The podcasters, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have to make a movie with all you in it,
Here's Dan McNew right below my finger with his arm in a cast.
Oh, dear.
And, oh, my God.
Where is Dan tonight?
Well, Dan missed the last couple of shows, and one of them was his son's birthday, and the other one he just decided not to come to because he didn't know anything about the topic. And I was like, Dan, buddy, I didn't either until 3 days ago. Come on, crack open Google, buddy.
I miss Dan.
So, Dan's had a show for longer than anybody I know. I mean, the video you always see of the space shuttle exploding. Talk about being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
Dan made that film.
Wow.
And all the networks, they all wanted to know if they could use it. And he said, yeah. And years later, he realized he probably could have made some money on it, But all those views of that all went on his channel, like by the zillions. And so he had a couple of things like that went on. And then he was really tight with Dimebag Darrell, and Vinnie Paul, his brother from Pantera. And he hung out with those guys, and they were all over. They played in Texas where they lived a lot. And they had a clubhouse, which was actually a strip bar that Dan would hang out with his buddies at. And there was another band he was kind of the fifth member of too. So he's got a lot of stuff that he likes to do that involve the whole Texas scene over there. Dimebag Darrell, he started the Ride for Dime, a Harley Davidson ride after Dimebag Darrell was murdered while performing.
Murdered? So wow!
Shot 4 or 5 people and killed Dimebag. It was a band that just came in and shot and killed him. And so Dan organized the Ride for Dime, and every year was a huge ride, Harley Davidson ride. And pretty soon, top musicians started coming and playing there. And then pretty soon, they started forming chapters in other cities. And it really got big. And so anyway, we don't know what Dan's got cooking right now, but we'll find out, I'm sure. Novice Nick talking about my black eye here because you wouldn't take your drugs. Anyway, yeah, Caitlin was there with us at the other show. She knows all about the ward and the artist George. She was there. Bill Kay was there. Mary Jane was there. Linda Foster was there. It's like half my chat used to be at that show. The vinyl record player, the artist. Guys, have you seen these record players that used to fit underneath the dash in automobiles? A friend of mine just posted one on Facebook.
There's no way.
Oh, yeah.
How are you going to get a decent record to play on it with a car bouncing up and down?
I'm sure they skipped a lot.
Turn on the stabilizers. Let's play a record, right?
Okay, so where were we? We left off at John and Yoko Ono. Okay, so Taj Mahal. Are you guys familiar with Taj Mahal? I bought one of his 8-tracks years ago. A friend of mine was telling me about him. I don't think I got a good 8-track, and I never bought another one. But
Is that a guy by
anyway, so he
himself?
did. Huh?
Was that a single guy by himself, Taj Mahal?
I'm sure he had people with him.
Okay.
Yeah, he also happened to cameo. The only time I got to see the Stones, I think, was on their 50th tour, and they would have a couple of guest spots.
Okay.
And, thankfully, they played a couple of shows in Chicago. I know one of the guests they had was Taylor Swift, and thankfully that was not the night that I went. Thankfully, it was not at all. So
thank you. I really appreciate hearing that.
Oh,
You're not a
close one,
fan?
bro.
You're not a number one fan of hers, huh?
Oh, I love her.
Bill saw one of the vinyl players in a Cadillac. Yeah. It was in an Eldorado. That's great. Yeah. A friend of mine just posted a picture of one. I asked her if I could share it. She goes, of course. I really should have loaded it and showed it tonight, for the people that haven't seen one yet. I've been aware of them. I've read about them before. And boy, when I go into an antique store, that's one of the first things I ask for. Okay, so
you've been aware of a car record
playing
deck?
45s. They're not big albums. It plays.
Well, I realize that. I mean, but that's insane.
I know.
Especially if it came out in the old days.
Exactly.
That must have been a mess.
I'm sure it was.
I guess anyway, so we have the band park somewhere and play records.
Huh?
You could park somewhere and play records, I guess.
Well, you could park somewhere and play records.
Okay, now I get it. Okay,
if you're going to park in the dark, romantic records, right?
Right, there you go. Some what you call it, Perry Como and shit like that.
I know you had fun when I moved to California. I left behind that '56 Cadillac with the back seat like a queen.
Oh yeah, I taught our mom how to drive in that.
I know. Yeah.
Big old Cadillac, and she was only 5 foot tall, right? She get big old steering wheel. She couldn't see with a steering wheel.
Dad called me and said, "What do you want to do with this thing?" I was living in California, and I go, "It's yours. Keep it." And you guys taught
a lot, right?
You guys taught mom how to drive, and she's in her 50s. She didn't know how to drive a car, but that was a safe car to learn to drive.
I remember Don Workman, the mechanic, lived across the street.
Yeah.
When you bought that Cadillac, it smoked, right? It smoked quite a bit.
Yeah.
And my dad told Don, I was talking to Don Workman one day, and he was telling Don about smoke, excessive smoke and stuff. But my dad says, but if you keep it a couple of quarts low on oil, it doesn't smoke quite as bad. And that really cracked Don Workman up. He was a mechanic, He's laughing. Oh, is that the trick? He's cracking up and everything.
I love Don Workman.
Yeah, he was crazy.
Him and my dad were friends, and they loved to drink beer together. And Don Workman was a mechanic, like Richie said, but he owned an old Navion airplane that never been annualed properly, and he never had a pilot's license. He'd take my dad flying. In fact, he'd take the whole family flying. We'd fly to places out in the Nevada desert, these Pueblo villages, that dirt landing strip with a little gift store in there. You see things you never even dreamed of. We flew down through the Grand Canyon, and
you gotta be kidding me.
One day. Dad and Don were flying in the Navion over our neighborhood, and my dad was holding a can of beer out, showing it off. And they're flying, and our mothers were standing in the middle of the street. Now, most of the neighbors are out, and they were hugging, crying because they figured they were going to kill themselves.
Yeah, you crazy son of the bitches.
One time, they had what? How many kids did they have over there? Well, Ronnie was older.
4 or 5 anyway.
But Tommy, the other 2 boys, Billy,
Billy, Robin,
and
Tommy,
Robin, the girl.
Ronnie, 5.
So they stuffed as much of their family as they could in this 4-seater, and took me and my dad and my mom. There must have been 7 or 8 of us in this old 4-seat Navion.
I wasn't getting
and they got it off the ground, and we flew a little bit, but I was scared,
Yeah.
But it did inspire me to get a pilot's license later. But I'll tell you, I never drank when I was flying. It's the craziest thing in the world you can possibly do. But anyway, let's get back to John Mayall, Turning Point.
Good idea.
He 1969. He released that CD in 1990. Recorded in 69, released in 90.
Was he a
Then we have
player?
let's see, Quicksilver Messenger Service, Happy Trails. Live tracks recorded at both Fillmore East and West again, released in '94.
Great album.
Huh?
I love Happy Trails. I'd love to hear the live. Yeah.
I'll be looking for it now. That antique store, they have stuff like this. If I see it, I'm going to grab it. And then Santana, Fillmore East, 1971, recorded, released in 2020. Sly and the Family Stone, live at the Fillmore East.
There's a ton of them.
Recorded October 4th and 5th, 1968, released in 2015. I think I've seen that out there. 10 years after, live at the Fillmore East. And that was a great band. Alvin Lee and Woodstock.
Phenomenal guitarist.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Lightning fast. Lightning fast.
You talk about, I think, underrated guitarist, Michael. You just had a show on that I just
watched. And and he would have been a good candidate for that list, except that I think when I was going through that list in my mind, when he was hot, kind of like Johnny Winter almost didn't make that list either, because my memory is these guys were heralded guitarists. I mean, Alvin Lee, when I was 15, he was he was in so many articles and magazines. He was, the band was hot. He was at his top. And that's probably why I didn't think of him, because you know what? You're right. He has kind of digressed or gone down on those lists every decade.
But you're right, though. He was really big, not unheralded at all. He was a superstar at the time.
Oh, he was good.
Right after Woodstock and the next couple of years after that. But you're right. You do not hear much about him anymore. One of my best friends, we've been friends since we were 5 years old, and we moved to California together. He's the biggest Alvin Lee fan I know. He's got everything by Alvin Lee. He tells me I should do a show on Alvin Lee. It would probably be a good one, too.
For sure.
Well, I love the first one I heard, of course, was what's it called? I'd love
to change the world.
I'd love to turn you on, but the world. I'm not thinking of it. I had the words in my head just now.
Oh
I'd love to turn you on.
Yeah.
I love that song. And goes into that portion. Dun 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 dun. Oh man, grooving, man, totally grooving. Yeah.
No, that's you know what? I keep talking about that antique store in Cayucas with all the vinyl. There were 2 10 years after albums there yesterday I could have bought, but because I don't have any right now, and I really do like him, the band and his guitar playing. Okay, so we did Mountain. We talked about Quicksilver Messenger Service, Santana, Sly, 10 years after. That's where we stopped. Okay, Traffic, John Barleycorn Must Die. That was there yesterday, too. And that was recorded in 1970, released in 2001. Wow. That's why I had to read this list. I mean, who's going to memorize, 5 pages of live performances that all became CDs and albums later? But when I saw how many of these were recorded so long ago and released more recently, it just kind of blew my mind. It was a real eye opener for me. Okay, The Who, live at the Fillmore East, 1968, 2 CD set, released in 2018. Johnny Winter played there a lot too. And Johnny Winter recorded at Fillmore East and at Pirates World, and that was released in 71. So these recordings were for 2 or 3 different places. And then Johnny Winter live at Fillmore East, 1970, released 2010.
Yeah.
Okay, then Neil Young and Crazy Horse, and we saw him on one of the marquees I showed. Live at the Fillmore East, recorded 1970, released 2006. Frank Zappa, The Mothers of Invention. Freaks and Mother FU, that a bunch of symbols. You can only wonder what that stood for.
What?
1970.
On a Frank Zappa record? Really?
Yeah.
No, you must be mistaken on that one.
I'm shocked.
Recorded in 71 and actually released in 71. Okay, good. Okay. Okay. No, the first one, there was two Frank Zappa here. I'm sorry. I skipped to the second one. Freaks and Mother Chuckers, recorded in 70, released in 91.
I rest my case.
Okay, so the Allman Brothers Band was released. They got more Allman Brothers here. And anyway, I think I pretty much beat that to death. So anyway, what a great time to be alive in New York. 68 to 71, to go to all these amazing venues. The Fillmore East would have been a favorite.
Believe it or not, it was safer then than it is now in New York.
No, I totally believe that. Yeah.
Well, just a couple of years ago, I'm going to check here to see what it was. Yeah, 8,500. I went to go see Greta Van Fleet at the Bill Graham Civic Center.
Right.
And that holds 8,500 people.
Okay.
Now compare that to the Cow Palace, where I saw McCartney in 76.
Right.
16,500 people. Okay.
Right.
So now, but I couldn't help, and I've been to larger audiences or concerts as well. But one thing that I noticed at the Bill Graham concert, at the Civic Center with Greta Van Fleet, was, wow, this is it had almost an intimate feel to it. All right. So now think about the Fillmore East and West. I mean, you've got 2,500 probably, they probably got 2,500 people. What a freaking intimate concert and series of concerts those must have been. Can you imagine being in those in that audience, man? It's just awesome.
Well, it kind of intimate audience is like this venue we have nearby, which is actually a winery. And that's where I saw Alice Cooper this last April. Great show. But now Ringo Starr and his all-star band are coming. And tickets are already on sale. But, you can buy them. You can buy really good down front, center of stage for a little, like $250. But you can get them anywhere from $150 to $250. Really good seats. But it's a small venue. Even if you're beyond the seats in the grass band above, you've got good seats. In fact, they have more expensive stuff in tables behind the grass band. And you can bring lawn chairs and go up there and sit on a blanket and have a fantastic seat, fantastic view. Yeah. So Novice Nick, now wait a minute. Let's rip open that Hendrix. I'll open mine. You have that same album? Let me know if you have that same album. We're gonna have to work something out.
Got to make some kind of deal here,
Some kind of deal, yeah. Okay, so anyway, that pretty much concludes my presentation on the Fillmore East, but we can talk about that or anything else you guys want to talk about. I'm open, as long as it's not open my Hendrix tonight.
Well, I was just surprised because I know you're a major Hendrix fan.
Yeah.
And these have, from what you were saying earlier, it sounded like to me that you're saying there's tracks in this kit that's all sealed up that you've never freaking heard. That would drive me insane.
There's 8 albums of tracks I've never heard.
Oh man. That would just I can't imagine, like my favorite band, the Beatles. All of a sudden, if there was these exquisite, never before heard recordings, and I bought it sealed, rip that sucker right off immediately.
He's waiting for his 80th.
Michael, I wanted to hear it so bad, I almost bought a new one.
Well, that makes some sort of sense. You can listen to one and then. Star Wars the other.
Yeah, 150.
Put it up with your Darth Vader unopened
in the attic and the
jet fighter thingy,
Right.
whatever.
No.
Lock and
I'm
key.
really feeling
Put
the
it under
pressure.
lock and key.
I'm
man.
gonna be opening that sooner rather than later. I'm really, like I said, I'm really feeling the pressure.
Don't let them push you, man. Don't let them push you.
Thanks, brother.
Keep that sucker locked
My,
up.
my strength has been renewed.
Either that or get yourself a vacuum, you know, a tight vacuumed glass case for it or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Really
Right.
save it, you
I'll
know.
tell you
Right.
what, call it, get a hold of a friend, have him send you theirs that they opened. Listen to it, you know.
Look at Novice Nick. He has 16 Stone albums that aren't open yet.
Oh,
See, there
God.
you go. There you go.
You know, I don't.
You know,
even
I
like
always like
opening-
to have an album of a band that, you know, the concert I went to, like the Rolling Stones have. The one I saw in Long Beach. I ran into that album yesterday. It's a 2-album set at that antique store, and I was a little shocked because the cover was a little beat up. It's Exile on Main Street. The cover a little beat up and stuff like that. The vinyl wasn't as clean as I usually like. It was still like $40-something, so I had to pass on it. But that was one of the Stones concerts I did get to see live. 1972, I guess. Yeah, Long Beach Arena.
72. Great
Yeah.
time to see them.
Yeah, yeah.
Great time.
And of course, Bridges to Babylon. That was another concert tour I got to see. Anyway,
I would have loved to have seen that concert too, because I think that album gets a lot of it doesn't get its due for
Right.
me. You know, I think it's a great album. I think they made better before it, but I don't think they've made better since. And it was
Right.
a strong artistic statement. It was finely crafted songs. The band sounded sharp and a total enjoyment to listen. I mean, it's one of those albums you put on and you listen to it all the way through and you're entertained all the way through, you know, hardly
Well, you
a
know,
week cut on it.
Exactly right. You put a Stones album on, like Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, and most of our favorites.
Well,
You listen to it all the way through. You're not skipping.
I mean, it's not sticky
I'll even hit
fingers.
the repeat button sometimes, you know.
Yeah. It's not sticky fingers, Royce. Obviously, you know. I mean, it's not their. It doesn't travel like Exile. It you know, there's a lot of stuff that it doesn't pass up. But, dude, the time it came out, how old they were when they put that album, I think it's a valid damn Stones album. You know.
Yeah. It is. You know, the Rolling Stones, you know, they are one of my favorite bands of all time. And I mean,
Me too.
I would put them, I don't know, about maybe even top 3, to be honest with you.
I wouldn't put them that far, but they're in my top 12.
No
You know?
lower than 5 for me. I mean,
Yeah.
they're just so amazing.
Yeah.
When you start thinking about all the songs that they've had that were just
Oh, yeah.
just iconic songs, you know.
And, you know, the thing is, you know, as long as the Beatles were there, they were one band. But when the Beatles dissipated,
Right.
they got better. To me, they got better. I mean, not as far as writing hits. I mean, those hits in the 60s are just incredible. But the band as a performing band live and now making almost grown-up albums all on their own, and nobody could say, oh, they got the idea from, oh, wait a minute, those guys are gone now. You know,
Right.
Sticky Fingers, that's what that album kind of just said to me, you know, when I heard that.
Right.
They're one of these long histories that there's multiple eras to really enjoy. You know,
Right.
I've always been more partial to the Brian Jones era.
Me too.
But then, you know, you have that early 70s run that's like, you know, phenomenal. And I would argue too that, you know, Michael, you were talking about like Bridges to Babylon. That I think that latter era of Stones, I continue to like all the singles also that were released. I don't think they released any Duff singles in that latter period either.
Yeah.
And, you know, people don't always have their favorites as far as the eras and stuff. but I think they continue to still hold a very high quality and a very high standard of output.
Yeah, Bruce, I agree. And what about their latest single? Would somebody please tell me what's wrong with living in a ghost town?
Right.
That's a great track. I mean, that's a classic Stones track. I loved it. And talking about having something to freaking say in, the 21st century, I mean, I love that track. I'm still waiting for the album, but love that track.
Well, we've just been joined by our good friend, Novice
Hey, Rich.
Novice Nick's got a great show. Everybody needs to go look at it and subscribe there also. But what I want to say is, Novice, my co-hosts were talking, and I didn't want to interrupt. I never got a chance to tell you. You can open yours if you want. I'm not opening mine now.
Well, I thought we'd have a dual unboxing. I tried, world. Yeah.
Okay. Well, when I do it, I'm going to make sure you're here.
Okay.
But I'm looking for. Every show's a special occasion, but I'm looking for something special, like 1,000 subs or something.
Right. I got you.
Right.
Well, it'll come quicker. I'll tell you what, Royce. You're a chick magnet. I've never seen as many women show up on a live stream. You're a true gentleman.
No,
that's true. Nick,
yes,
that's true. There is a higher female ratio on this
right here.
There it is. I told you.
And the fun thing about this chick magnet is you wind it up.
I had mine sitting right here.
You fill it up with jelly beans, and it starts walking, and the jelly beans are dropping out of its butt there,
I had one sitting right here on my desk. It should be around here somewhere. But
well, Novice Nick, we try to keep it kind of clean. I was on a show before, and one of the guys that had a colorful mouth, and I don't mind that so much, except that I see these shows get shut down over it. And he said to me, "You don't like to cuss, do you? How come?" And I said, "Oh no, I'm a construction worker. I used to have one of the foulest mouth there are out there." I said, in fact, I walked in a restaurant one day, and this old guy that taught me how to do finished carpentry, he goes, I hadn't seen him in a long time. "Royce, come sit down." I went and sat down. He goes, we started talking, catching up. And he goes, "You've really changed." I go, "Well, in what way?" He goes, "You used to have one of the foulest mouths of anybody I know." Kind of like a rock star, everything starts with,
Right.
But then Royce met me, and through my kind counseling and clean verbiage, he became.
That's my daughter Nicole right there, and she's a twin. It was Nicole and Erica, and then we have our oldest daughter Amber. And you know what I said to my buddy on the show when he asked me that question? I go, "Well, I had 3 daughters at home, and if I was going to continue to talk the way I talked at work or around the house, I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. So I tried to really clean it up." And he just sat there looking at me, just almost dumbfounded.
Well, that and some of it is people judge you on what comes out of your mouth.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
They do, whether it's fair or not. They judge your intellect by that. Whether that's a fair or not, that has nothing to do with this. Just how people see it.
Right. Yeah. So my daughter Nikki is flying home from Georgia. Her and my wife are.
Oh,
they
wonderful.
flew into Atlanta, Georgia, a few days ago. My oldest granddaughter's living back there, and she wanted help picking out a wedding dress. So, my wife, my daughter, my ex-son-in-law's significant other, they all flew back there to help her pick out a wedding dress and to have, and to get away.
Oh, what a great occasion!
Yeah, so good to see you on, Nikki. Thank you.
Wow. That reminds me, I just made plans for my mother, who's 89, and Father's Day she became a great grandmother for the first time, and they are 1,500 miles away, so we're flying her up for the baptism.
Gotcha.
Oh, cool.
Yep. So that was one of my goals to get done this year, and I'm thrilled to finally have the tickets, the airfare, all of that. It's done, and they're ready to go. So
Right.
Yeah, I understand
Cool.
about children will change your world.
Yeah, yeah, they totally do.
Yep. My father-in-law had 4 girls. Sweetest man, most wonderful man you ever want to meet. And he was a construction worker. He was an electrician. And he was great. And I'll tell you, they had 5 women and 1 bathroom in the house. That'll teach you
That's
discipline,
tough.
if anything else.
Well, right now I've got a bathroom tore apart.
Oh
I
no.
tried to work on it a little bit today, but I ran out of room. My wife's going to be really disappointed.
Ooh.
But I remember doing the tile myself, but I didn't realize when I put the mortar bed down on that 8-foot long vanity in the master that it must have been about 1.5 inches thick.
Oh,
I mean, 3/4 is plenty, you know.
right,
I was in there
right.
with the sledgehammer trying to bust the tile off this vanity.
Oh my
Anyway,
goodness.
so yeah, I've got more work to do back there.
Yep.
And once I get that done, I've got a bathroom and what used to be a laundry room that are back to back. And I'm going to demo all of that and turn it into 2 bathrooms. So that'll be my
Okay.
project. Then the inside will be, all the big projects inside will be done. We built the house in 84 or 83, 84. I parked about a couple of acres in the West Hills of Atascadero. I parked a 12 by 60 trailer on it, which was against the CC&Rs, and just went ahead and built it.
Yeah.
And, you know, weekends and evenings, working a full-time job. And so it took a while, but it was, I don't know what happened to my brother. He seemed to, maybe his wife's,
he's actually signed off
okay.
there, Royce. And you know what? I've got to sign off. I always stay to the end, but my wife just gave me a little eye.
Well, you know, Michael, thank you, because we really kind of passed the end. I've been trying to limit the shows to no more than an hour, and if it goes 45 minutes or 35, I'm fine with that.
Well, it's like hanging with friends, and you know, and I enjoy it. But
right.
If I'm gonna live to make another video, I need to herald.
I'd like to say
we've all been through that. You know,
nice to meet you, Michael.
Oh,
I enjoy
Nick,
what you do.
I love you, man. I watch you on Rachel's Ghost, and
I'm learning
awesome.
how to do. Thank you. I'm learning how to do all this stuff.
I was just gonna say, Bruce, I'm still trying to figure out how to do it and when to do it, but I want to do that shoot with you. Okay,
nice.
On the wings, dude.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Yeah.
So
and I plugged everyone too in my video that just dropped a few hours ago. So it's so I reference it in that as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, man.
Right.
Royce, thank you for having me on, brother.
Michael, thank you for being here. I always enjoy your help, and it's a fun time when you're here. And Bruce, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Nick, thank you. We're just getting ready to sign off.
Thank you all so much. Good to see you.
I want to thank everybody in the chat. We really appreciate all of you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for continuing to support us. We love you all.
Love to feel that velvet.
And that's what's happening in Royce's world today. Thank you all so much. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Royce.